A warm welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, 5:20 in the afternoon for us, or at least my side of Australia. For Restarter, it's more like 3:20 in the afternoon, which matches up with the time in Malaysia, as well as we're not too far away from the start of race 5 of the championship for TSS, the Super Series, presented by B-Quik at the Sepang International Circuit in Malaysia. Reece, and since it was nice and dry earlier on, and we haven't seen it yet since we started commentating on this series last year. Naturally, we have had some rain fall in the middle of the day, and I can just see that Race Control is officially declaring the track as wet at this current time, although whether they'll need wet tyres is yet to be seen. It's started drying out since the rain fell whilst we've been off air.
Yeah, indeed. I was catching up with the action in the Malaysian Championship Series just, some moments ago, and the race was quite rain-affected indeed. So I think there's going to be a big challenge for the TSS field as they make their way around for this 1-hour race that we've got coming up with TSS Supercar, the only category present here at Sepang International Circuit today. We have the GT4, GTM, and GT3 fields all competing together here today. So at the very least, if the rain stops coming down, then we're going to have a very quickly drying track, which is good.
Yeah, indeed. Well, the commentary we've heard so far is, whilst rain lights are still active on the cars and will therefore still be required as a result due to the fact the track has been declared wet at this time, teams and drivers may have already transitioned back to slick tyres, and just going to have to be careful if they go offline. We're 5 minutes away from the pit exit opening up now as well, is the latest message from Race Control. They do a recon lap and come back around to their grid stalls just outside the Southern Pit Complex that they are stationed in for this weekend. So then we'll see. Presuming in that case, we'll then actually get a full formation lap, I think, after that still, before the race gets underway. As you said, Reece, 60 minutes as usual for the TSS Supercar categories that are racing here this weekend. One compulsory pit stop right down the middle of that. And just as a little note that we will have, because we have the GTM cars here, there's one car amongst that field, the number 25 Singer Motorsport Team Thailand Ferrari 488 Challenge, was required to also needs to refuel its car to be able to make it to the finish. They're an exception to the rule amongst everyone else, as it looks like we've got some of the footage of highlight packages and clips coming through from the circuit, so stuff probably from the Malaysian Championship Series content that is just wrapped up here.
Yeah, indeed. A lot of activity that's been going on at the circuit today, and plenty of drama as well. As you can see, we had some drama of our own earlier on today with the very quick Audi of Lihao and Marcus Winkelhock having a big problem in the first qualifying session. Of course, it is round 3 of the Malaysian Championship Series, and we're lucky to be here at Sepang International Circuit celebrating 25 years of operation. This place has been around since the late 90s. Of course, it was built for Formula One, host of the Malaysian Grand Prix for quite some time. But now, of course, it is still one of the mainstays of racing in the Southeast Asia region, and playing host to the B-Quik Thailand Super Series Supercar categories. So there's been plenty of challenges that the drivers at this event have been facing over the course of the previous few days, and the challenge is going to increase here with 2 single 1-hour races happening today and tomorrow, and crucially, they are single driver races for the cars that have 2 drivers in them, which is going to create a little bit more of a challenge out there.
Not quite actually, Reece. They will do driver swaps for those teams that have 2 drivers. But yes, there's the way we're qualifying 1 and qualifying 2 also dictate who starts which race. So yes, for the drivers that did qualifying 1, the first session in this morning's broadcast earlier, they're all the drivers that have to start this first race and hand over to their co-drivers and then flip the order around for race 2 tomorrow. So there's a bit of particulars there on all of that. So most of our teams here this weekend are running 2 driver pairings, so they will do those driver swaps in the pits. And also to add to that, we do have as well to consider compulsory pit stop times, which have also what's called compensation times added to them as well to modify how they're going to work out here. So just having a look here to see the documents we've received for this race, and actually I have the official compensation times for this weekend to reference. So let me have a quick look through these. So minimum pit stop time for those who don't know how this works. Drivers and teams are required from pit entry to pit exit, a minimum duration, which at Sepang this weekend is 1 minute and 20 seconds, or in other words, just simply spelled out as 80 seconds is your entry to exit time. You must be above that, otherwise you'll receive a stop and hold penalty for being underneath that limit, and that's for GT3 and GTM. Interestingly, those two categories have that restriction as a minimum time. GT4 cars have an extended 140-second minimum pit entry to pit exit time, Reese. And then you add on FIA driver pairing adjustments, so higher rate of pairing, longer time in the pits, as well as success ballast times applied based on the results from the last race at Bang Sen in July to worry about as well.
Yeah, indeed we do. Looking at that document myself as we speak, we do have we have plus 15 seconds for the car that finished first place, 10 seconds for second place, and 5 seconds for third place, and that's across all three of the classes that are racing here today. So in GT3, the number 62 of Akash Nandi and Eshan Pieris is going to have 46 plus 15. That is a minute and 1 seconds of total pit stop time added to them. Just as an example for that, we also have the penalty, the success compensation time, I should say, for the number 12 of PT Birom Bhakti and Kantasak Kusiri, and plus 5 seconds for Sandy Stubik and Deng Yi in GT3. And we'll go into further detail about how it affects GTM and GT4 as well as we make our way through this event at the beautiful Sepang International Circuit. There's a great field of cars that's going to be starting here today, and we've had our fair share of brilliant action from all three of our classes today. Looking forward to seeing how it goes as the day goes on, especially with that wet and presently drying track.
Yeah, it will indeed. Those compulsory pit stops as well, for those who don't know, also have to be taken within a 10-minute window that opens when we get to 35 minutes remaining in the race and will close when there's 25 minutes remaining in the race. And if we have a safety car during that period, it stops the clock until we restart and go green once again. So the pit exit has been opened up as we get footage back from the circuit, and our drivers and teams starting to negotiate. And yeah, by this point, well, the track is officially, I think, is still being declared wet. Haven't seen it being adjusted on the race control messages and board, but you can definitely see that track is now looking pretty dry around the circuit now. So definitely going to be going onto slick tyres to start this race, and presumably staying on those slicks unless things change here in the back half of this one here. We are just under 15 minutes away from the formation lap beginning, and then after that, of course, we can start the countdown.
Yeah, and don't forget, an hour may not be a particularly long race length for a series that involves GT cars, but it is worth a whole day in terms of Malaysian weather. The clouds can come in and the track can be transformed at the drop of a hat at this circuit. During the time that it hosted F1, it was notorious for weather changing just at the whim a few minutes worth of time can make all of the difference. So we'll be keeping our eyes trained on the skies and keeping our eyes on the weather radar to see what the track will do over the course of the next hour. The formation lap is going to commence at 15 minutes to the top of the hour, and that's around about 12 minutes time from now. So still plenty of time for the field to get their recon laps done and make their way to the grid for this race.
Interesting to note, they had a couple of cars going through the pits.
Yes, I was wondering about that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that before. I think it was actually even as well the number, didn't match if that was the number 12 or the 89, which at the Singer Motorsport Team Thailand Hondas that was, as well as a couple of GT4 and a Cup car as well. So they've bypassed the grid, unless it's because they needed to cycle back around for something. Well, either way, we'll see what needs to be done there. And hopefully they'll get into position shortly and then, go through the gridding procedures and such that are needed before we can get that formation lap underway.
So we keep our eyes trained on the skies, as I said, waiting for the initial run to this dummy grid, and it looks like all of the cars have made their way to the starting grid more or less. Of course, the Audi GT3, the number 25, making its way to the front here. There's going to be plenty of issues for the teams, as it looks like there is some sunlight hitting the circuit at present. So that should result in a bit more of a quickly drying circuit, at least for the very start of the race. Still plenty of time for that to change, though. So the teams will be at the ready with their wet tyres if and when they are needed. I'll be interested to see what the Audi of Lin Hao and Marcus Winkelhock, the number 27, will be able to do from the back of the GT3 grid. Something that we'll talk about, I think, in detail, Dan, over the course of this race. That'll be starting all the way back in 9th overall, thanks to the issue, obviously, that they suffered. The Hankook Ventus F200 tyres they were fitted with, getting slightly overwhelmed by a mistake from Lin Hao in that first qualifying session. But these tyres, obviously designed for racing, with plenty of action being put to the tarmac. I really love the tyre choice in this series. Certainly provided some great racing, both at Bang Sen and here at Sepang.
Yeah, the Hankook, they certainly do. And the great thing is the drivers really just have to manage the tyre a little bit. They can't just go flat out on them from start to finish. A little bit of management means that if you overdrive it, then you will be punished later on in the race with a tyre that might fall away from you towards the back half of this thing. Although teams do have the option to change tyres in the pit stops too, so if they've got a set of tyres to spare for the second half of the race today, they might also be able to tap into that. There's some final checks here on the starting grid. Tyre pressures in particular here for the Akash Nandi and Eshan Pyrrhus B-Quik Absolute Racing Audi R8 on that left rear. We also saw one of the other teams actually also had a team member with a good old-fashioned now, how to describe that one, but by tightening up the tires and the nuts, and had his massive lever so he could just crank on that with some serious force at a distance, and nothing like some good old-fashioned tire application techniques that way.
Yeah,
when you're not in a rush.
Yeah, I suppose, especially considering the fact that they may not necessarily have wheel guns at their disposal there on the dummy grid. So getting that little bit of extra leverage. I mean, if your wheel nuts aren't tightened as much as they possibly can, if it only requires a little bit of force with, say, a spanner to get them loose, then they're probably not tight enough for racing. If you know what I mean.
I think I do indeed, yeah. And as always, yeah, I don't think I've seen a tyre come off, which is good to be able to say that confidently. But yeah, definitely important to make sure that, make sure you have all the tyres fitted to the cars when they're meant to be, and keep everything safe and secure. Well, I've just been told possibility that rain is potentially on the horizon again for this race, and it would mean we do a dry start transitioning uh, into a wet middle part of this race, and that could be very interesting indeed. And if the timing of that estimated rain shower is right, that could mean that it'll happen outside the compulsory pit window, so they'll have to stop to change onto wets, and then have to stop again to satisfy the compulsory pit stop rules. So that could be fascinating to have to watch out for if that is the case. Though, of course, as you said, being in this part of the world, getting an accurate read on the forecast is entirely doesn't really exist. It's a bit of a dice roll.
Yeah, it is indeed. So, keeping an eye on a weather radar of my own. We do have some rain out over the South China Sea at the moment, moving roughly in the direction of Kuala Lumpur, and at the moment it's looking like potentially some rain before the end of the race, but I don't think the very start is going to be affected at the moment. So I'm sure that the teams have got their own weather radars, keeping their eyes peeled for those banks of rain that will inevitably make their way to the circuit here at Sepang, just outside Kuala Lumpur. But we'll have to wait and see just for the time being.
Yeah, that we will indeed. Now, one thing to also keep in mind, we're about to hit, at the end of today's race, we hit the halfway mark of the championship for 2024. So while we're waiting here with the gridding procedures, sort of walk through some of the championship situations. So in, for example, TSS Supercar GT3, we currently have, and drivers are scored based on their position independently, even though, of course, they are paired up as a result. They're championship leaders at this stage of the season after 4 races, or 4 rounds, depending on how you want to word it, because each race basically functions almost on its own in many respects. It is number 12 Single Motorsport Team Thailand Honda NSX drivers of Piti Birombakti and Kandatsak Kasiri. 66 championship points to their name at this stage race. They only have 10 points advantage, though, over the number 37 win here by BQAR Audi drivers of Sandy Stuvik and Deng Years. Well, how about that? There's a bit of an idea of a weather radar at this stage. We've just passed by 340. So at the moment, the rain on that radar angle is pretty minimal, as teams have also been given the order to start clearing the grid. You can see wets and dries were ready, but I was seeing plenty of slicks on the cars themselves.
Yeah, so those wet tyres won't see much use for the time being. You never know. If the rain does accelerate and it's run towards the circuit, I think personally I'm glad that we saw that weather radar, because that's the exact same source that I was using to make my comments a little bit earlier. Evidently no use for the wets currently, but again, the weather can turn at a moment's notice. If those rain banks start to accelerate towards the circuit, we might see a few drops of rain maybe at the very end of the race, and depending on whether the race is red flagged or there's a safety car and the clock is stopped or something like that, then we might be seeing a little bit of wetness right at the very end of the race. And if that happens, that's the dilemma for all of the teams and drivers involved. Do you jump in for those wets, or do you bank on the rain holding off a little longer or the track not being as wet and stay out on those slick tyres? It's a big gamble to make, and it's the same for any racing series anywhere in the world.
Yes, it will be. Although I get the feeling, if the rain does come and it comes down aggressively, which should. The word I received in the background was that it could be a thunderstorm that arrives at the circuit. Ooh. That generally tells me that it's going to arrive pretty quickly, pretty abruptly, and if it stays around for any meaningful amount of time, you're going to want to be in fast. Otherwise, it'll it'll have a bit of a panic. I get the feeling.
Yeah, there'll probably be a mad scramble. But it's likely, as things stand, that there won't be any rain in and around the pit window, which, as we mentioned, is from 25 to 35 minutes into the race. So keep your eyes peeled on the skies, and they'll definitely put slicks on, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I'll also be curious to see because we haven't seen any wet running yet this weekend. Don't know what the crossover time is going to be like as well. As to when is the right time to make that switch in terms of the lap time and the lap pace around Sepang here this weekend?
We're just making our final preparations here. The formation lap will commence in about 2 minutes' time. So we're just waiting for the board to be held up there, and we'll get ourselves going for this 1 hour race plus 1 lap. That is the official race length. Drive for an hour, and then at the conclusion of the next lap, after that hour passes, that will be the end of the race. I'm noticing as well a little bit of aggressive car placement from the number 62 there. As confirmed, we have 1 minute until the beginning of the formation lap here. That number 62 Audi pointed right towards the safety car. Now, if it was a standing start at the end of a formation lap, then you'd think, hey, that's a little bit aggressive. But of course, it is a rolling start. So ultimately, it doesn't really matter as long as you're pointed in the general direction of the running of the circuit. But yeah, you do notice that number 62 is a little bit askew.
Well, it might have just been a case of how they pull it into the pit lane, or pit box, the dummy grid. I might go with that as a presumption, at least, as to whether that is the case or not. Yeah, it's one of the things you usually see with standing start racing. Someone who's not on the preferred line or is in a position where they want to get across as the safety car will pull away. You just have the 15-second board there off to the side. So we'll see here if indeed they have to hold here for a moment as the safety car drives off. It makes me a case of, unless this means here we're going to get a very short roll to the grid, basically. I would have thought not, because double wave yellows as well. So, number 12 is not gone. They're on the right-hand side of screen. There we go. That's a good moment for the Honda NSX to get fired up and to think that's your championship leader as well.
Yeah, that would have been unfortunate if they weren't able to get going. It took them a couple of moments, but fortunately they have been able to. And so the GT3 field will pull away, followed, of course, by GTM. Kamik Kamasula in the AAS Motorsport car will be the leader, it seems, of our GTM field for the time being. And we'll keep our eyes peeled on that. Actually, it looks like one of the Toyota Gazoo Racing Thailand cars is indeed ahead of them. I was looking at the wrong place on the timing screen there. My apologies. Yeah, it's been good for Toyota Gazoo Racing Thailand here. Yeah, I mean, one of their cars is starting a little bit further down in the GTM field, but they have pole position and are looking rather quick. Speaking of positions, let's take a look at how they line up. Akash Nandi and Eshan Pieris are going to start on pole position in GT3, followed by Huang Rohan and Adisak Tamfun Sharan in the 25A machine. There are 2 number 25s here today, Stuvik and Deng. Meanwhile, Pitti and Kantasak in 3rd and 4th as we move on through to the rest of them. The GT3 field rounded out, of course, by Lin Hao and Marcus Winkelhock in the B-Quik Absolute Racing GT3. Hearing a message from Race Control that is actually pretty big here, Dan. Car number 38 has had its onboard fire extinguisher go off, and that car's going to have to return to the pits. Now, the number 38 is the Toyota Gazoo Racing Thailand Lexus that is starting in 5th in GTM.
It is indeed. So there they are right on screen. Chris and Natapong.
4th.
Yeah, that number 38 machine. So yeah, as you said, from 4th place on the grid, they are going to have to take it back to the pit lane now and get that cleaned up. And we'll have to see if they can get it basically sort of reset in a sense and be permitted to rejoin the race, but that surely is going to put them a fair way out of sequence. And at the very least, we'll see if it means they stay on the lead lap or not, because she got a chance to be able to peel in here, because what I'm expecting is safety car either peels in at the main pits or it peels in here at the south pits, and then we have to wait to come around to the actual start-finish gantry. There's also one other tiny thing I've had a chance to look at before we go racing here tonight, this afternoon I should say, Reese. The pit entry does have a lovely, obviously a mandated line just there off the exit of turn 14. But given the fact that it is such a tight entry, I have noted there's a bulletin that was published by the race director. Cars have been given some leniency as long as the right-hand side tyres are within the white line, denoting they must be to the right-hand side of that. They can keep the left-hand side tyres outside the white line, but it will be closely monitored by the race director, and any infringements of that and exceeding the white line with your right-hand side tyres will be passed on to the stewards for further review during this race if need be.
Rightio. Well, that's good to hear that message. I don't think it's going to change much with pit entries. If you're close behind a car that's going to come into the pits, got to be careful because they will be very slow there through turn 14. But through turn 15, our GT3 field comes, and we're waiting on the call of the green flag here. The 1-2 for B-Quik Absolute Racing in the Audis, and the lights are off. We are away in our GT3 class.
All right, here we go. Akash Nani takes them down towards turn 1. The 25A of Huang Rohan is going to get swallowed up on the approach there as you've got Sandy Stuvik and Piti Birombak. You're going to hustle there to put him back down to 4th place, and the number 12 machine jumps up to 3rd there as we can dip down here into turn 2. Side by side in the middle of the field there, as in behind there we see our GTM cars have already made it to the green flag as well, and they roar into turn number 1 as there we go, single file for our GT3s now as they make the run to turn 4. Already a bit of defensive driving for Akash Nani, perhaps, just trying to show he's paying attention to his mirrors. The AAI BMWs side by side there, and at the back of the field for now, I think unfortunately will be sort of the case for the most of the race. Douglas Koo and the Viper Niza Racing Mercedes, but we'll see how he can hold with the field today. As there we go, look back now at the GT4 drivers as they've gotten their race underway as well, Reese, and it looks like it's fairly orderly, single file the order of the day by the time we get to turn 4.
Yeah, indeed. Currently led by the AAS Motorsport car of Kantadi Kusiri in the number 18, but the 2W Zoomies Supras there, the blue beauties, making their way around in 4th and 5th in class. Of course, GT4 Pro-Am and GT4 Am competing as 2 separate classes here. So 2W Zoomies currently 4th in GT4 Pro-Am and leading the GT4 Am category. Nice to see. GTM's gotten off to a nice clean start as well. Of course, we did have those problems there for the number 38 Toyota Gazoo Racing Thailand car. I'm not seeing that it's returned to the pits just yet. They might be just getting their first racing lap out of the way before they return to extract that extinguisher and replace it with a new one. Yeah,
well, update has come through from race control after the start of the race there. They've been noted and black flagged, so there's no possibility of avoiding that one now. And they will have to come down the pit lane and get that one resolved as first full lap of racing is complete. Akash Nani from Sandy Stuvik from Piti Birombak to your top 3. Huang Rohan there, 4th place, and then it's going to be Chunha Chen and Yachi Zhang in the BMWs. Then you've got the number, where is the 27 on the timing screens? It has just reappeared there for Lin Hao in front of Vorabul Birombak and Douglas Koo as it's on for the GTM lead into turn 1, and Nanavude has to defend aggressively from the 17 of Kimik Kanasuta, but they get through unchanged for now.
Yeah, the Ferrari as well making its way through too. Obviously very striking that Ferrari 488 Challenge car, the number 25B, trying its best to get things done here, having lost 2nd place there to the Porsche. This is quite a massive field indeed. All right, keep our eyes on turns 5 and 6 here. It is on for that GTM lead, and it's also on behind as well. The second Toyota Gazoo racing car still not coming back to the pits despite that black flag being issued for not conforming to race control's directions. I'm wondering if the team haven't quite communicated that to the driver just yet, or if they're having communication problems there.
It could be a couple of things. It could be a case of trying to get some laps in and maybe allowing the field to stretch out a bit, because they're still holding relatively steady there, 5th place amongst the GTM cars, to maybe not lose as much time as peeling in. Well, that's the thing, if you peel it in straight away off the race start, maybe you get it fixed up, you don't lose as much time. So you hope it's not one of the possibilities you've suggested, Reese, but it does potentially suggest that, because there's less benefit to staying out at this point as the race goes on. As you're leading in GT3 here, going to take different lines through turn 15 and tackle that off-cambered apex and line. As there it is as well for 3rd place, getting almost side by side. In fact, for Juan Rohan, I believe that is through on Piti Birambakti into 3rd place with that move.
Yeah, indeed. The 25A car managing to recover a little bit from the poor run off the start there. Remember, they got swamped into turn 1 at the very start of the race. So give it 5 minutes into the race and they are back into 3rd. Now, I suppose Rohan has to get into a rhythm here to try and chase down Stuvik, who still occupies the 2nd place spot there. But still a little bit of pressure being put on Akash Nandi at the front of the field. The 2 BMWs behind for Team AAI, holding on to 4th in Pro-Am and 2nd in Am in the GT3 class. They're doing quite well at the moment, just keeping it nice and clean as things stand. Keeping it clean is the name of the game. And keep an eye out as well on Lin Hao in the number 27 here. We saw him go off at that very corner in qualifying, and probably not the first time that we've seen some issues for that car in that turn. He did run a little bit wide on the exit that time. Isn't quite making much headway on the cars ahead of him.
Yeah, big thing obviously here at Sepang. You've got 2 long straights back to back on this circuit at the end and end/start of the lap, depending on how you want to put it. That's going to be some very healthy drafting opportunities. Same as once you get out of turn 2 to turn 4, it's a decent amount of full throttle section. And then even along here, it's still, you've got the 8 to 9 run as a bit of a blast along the straight there. So there's going to be opportunities to pick up some extra slipstreaming benefit. And yeah, that'll be something he's going to have to now overcome off the start of this one here. Is at this point in the race, Piti Birambakti doing a decent job there in 4th place. It should be enough to also, it'll still maintain the lead of the championship, because these guys here, they run to the Formula 1 points scheme race at 25 for the race win, 18 for 2nd, 15 for 3rd, and so on. So for the drivers of the number 12, sitting 4th, it's currently worth 12 points. But nope, they're back to 5th. Chunha Chen is through, and so that's going to potentially enable a championship challenge by the end of this race, should they stay in this case, as was being told in the background race. Finally, number 38 Lexus RCF from Toyota Gazoo Racing Thailand takes to the pit lane to clear that black flag that has befallen them.
Yeah, and they're unlikely to regain anything else now that they're taking this black flag, unless, of course, there's problems for cars ahead of them. So
that's not looking good, Reece.
No. Yeah, it's up on the jacks, and they might be bringing that one back into the garage as well. Of course, the black flag would penalise them, and that black flag will probably stand, but getting it onto the rollers is not a good sign. That's usually the sign that the team is going to bring it into the garage for further troubleshooting. And I'd expect that they'd bring it into the garage anyway to fix something like the extinguisher. When an onboard extinguisher goes off in a car, that's basically you'll have to open the doors, clear things out, and make sure that everything in the car is fully reset before it even has a chance of running back out on track. So yeah, it's a really big safety issue, having the extinguisher go off while the car is out on track. You obviously want it to work when it is needed.
Yeah, and so the fact that the GT3 cars are coming around to put them almost a lap down at this point, GTM isn't too far behind. There's your GTM leader, I should say, coming into turn 9. Your top 4 in class on the road. And saying that, though, Matavude here does run as part of the GTM AM subdivision within this category here. So actually, for all intents and purposes, isn't entirely racing the 3 cars directly behind. The first driver in the AM subclass, and the only other car in the AM subclass is a Simon Chan in the Fire Monkey Motorsport number 10 Porsche 992 Cup car. And the margin there is relatively healthy. As rounding turn 14, we watch for these drivers. You can see they're having to really lean on the cars and challenge potentially incoming from Kimik Kanasuta towards turn 15. And Natavude knows about it here. Reese defends inside early, but will track out for a preferred entry to the final corner.
Oh, a little bit squeezed there by the Lexus, and very unstable for the Porsche. Overshoots the apex of the final turn there, and they're going to cut back under him again at the exit. Side-by-side drag race to turn 1 potentially. A little bit of extra run for the Porsche, but it looks like they're going to have to lift off here and try again. But, oh man, hello. Number 24 is not willing to let this basic lead go. Will the Porsche try around the outside? Number 17 has to cut back once again. Maybe they'll be hoping for a good exit from turn 2 here. It's difficult to do the over-under at that section, though, unless you have a clear traction advantage. And for the time being, it looks like the Lexus has the power advantage over the Porsche, albeit a little unstable on the way to turn 5.
Oh, a little wiggle, middle of the road from Natavude once again. Can he get it pulled up here for turn 4? Just gets that one stopped and is able to park it on the exit there. But the drive for drivers like Kimik there in his Porsche, it means he can just threaten there into turn 5 for half a moment, but it doesn't come to anything of note in this particular occasion. But interesting to see here, these drivers have time to get the tyres into an operating window. Track is still dry from what we can see for now, so they should be able to get down most of their performance, but the Lexus, as you said, is looking very twitchy and having to really use all of the road he can through some of these higher speed turns. And then as on the entries, is really having to think about defending early and proactively. Bad run off of turn 9. Is the inside open for the 17? Almost.
Oh, he's going to try it. He gets alongside and gets the move done. Good stuff, and parks it on the apex to prevent the Lexus getting the run. Now that's crucial for Kimik there, because don't forget we've got Kittipol trying to work his way through as well in the 25B car, the Singar Motorsport Team Thailand GTM. That Ferrari 488 was putting a lot of pressure on the Porsche for the lead, and now they've got to be careful not to make too many more mistakes like the one they just made. Now Kimik can stand a chance to run away in the GTM lead, as further up in GT3, the Team AAI entry of Zhang and Yu Chen making their way through, or at least trying to, after a pass from the championship leading Honda NSX. They're having some trouble getting it done there, but oh, is there a comeback from the Honda on the inside of the BMW at turn 4? There is indeed, and they'll just have to get back into the rhythm from here. A little bit of a compromised exit, but not much pressure from behind.
Yep, Lim Hao is yet to catch up to these two, but that was some very stout defense. I think I saw some contact between the two of them running in turns 3 and 4. That's a bit too much racetrack for the number 12 of PGG on Bakti. Up the inside, Lim Hao, pardon me. Where is that one? Yeah, Yachi Zhang will go. But these two guys are so keen to fight each other, Reese. Well, one, they was going to completely lose touch with Chunha Chen in the 91 and Team AAI BMW. And it will eventually bring that number 27 Audi from B-Quik Absolute Racing with the Meng model sponsorship there, red and black machine in the background, to the action here if they keep this up.
Yeah, this is obviously not the ideal solution for the Singham Motorsport Team Thailand NSX. They don't want to be battling too hard with this car. Remember, it's a Pro-Am car that's trying to pass a GT3 AM car. They're not even really competing in the same class, so to speak. They are driving the same car class, but in terms of driver subclasses, they're not directly racing against each other. So it's ultimately time that's being cost here for the NSX. And remember, they've got the championship to think about, so they want to try and get some forward momentum going, they might have a chance with that difficult exit off the final corner for the BMW.
On this particular occasion, though, Reece, so it looks like either that Honda's a little lacking in straight line punch, or going that tiny bit wide allowed the number 90 to get down on the power a little bit sooner and work out nicely for him. Well, back to the GTM field, we will check in. And I have to say, from this angle here, Kamik Kanasuta able to really put the foot down relative to Nadavude in the 24s. Kitapol almost runs into the back of him. I swear from that angle, it looked like that was going to be a bit hectic there as they come off the final turn. And that Lexus still very defensive, despite the fact that Kitapol isn't right behind him on the run to turn 1.
Yeah, I think maybe got a little spooked by the Ferrari going as deep as it did into the final turn. Of course, a couple of different regulation sets competing against each other here in GTM. We've got the 488 Challenge car there. We've also got PSC Motorsport and the Lamborghini Super Trofeo car, and combined with some older GT3s in the form of the AAS Motorsport 17 and the 2 Toyota Gazoo Racing Thailand cars there. So we've got a lot of variety in this class, and it's a good opportunity to see where the cars are making their pace. For the time being, the Ferrari looking very good on the way into the corners, though it's easy to push a bit too hard. GT4, meanwhile, AAS Motorsport still holding on to the lead here, but we've got the Wing Hin car making its way up to them as we check out the potential troubles there into turns 1 and 2. Those Porsche Caymans fighting rather hard at the moment. It's Henk Kicks and Erwin de Smet fighting to get into second place in GT4 Pro-Am. There's some issues going on there as we're getting a replay here of a potential drama there. Oh no! That's the Singha Motorsport Team Thailand number 12 going off in a big way, and it looks like coming out of that's turn 8, I believe.
I think it would be, Reece, yeah, and that's big for them because you see come across the line in 8th place now and 24 seconds off the class and race leadership as a result of that one there. So big issues for that. The lap on the whole, a 2-minute 20.1, so that's cost them to the tune of 8, if not 8 or 9 seconds from that incident there running off the road. In fact, relative to the race leaders, that cost them over 13 seconds. So that's how nasty that one is as a result. So promote Lin Hao to 6th place. Vorvud Bjorn Bakti in the sister Singha Motorsport Team Thailand Honda NSX here on screen to 7th. And then 8th place there for Piti Bjorn Baktis. There's your top 3 in GT3. Akash Nandi still leads Sandy Stuvik and Huang Rohan, but they're now coming up on some of the GT4 traffic that is also here on the circuit with them. It's something they usually don't have to deal with in their regular racing. They do elsewhere on the TSS Super Series calendar, as the GT3 category normally runs standalone. So in through the sweeper at turn 12, he'll go to the inside there to be able to try and get away from the cars behind. That there being, of course, Sutapong in the Toyota Supra GT4 for Toyota Gazoo Racing Thailand. That's able to be not too much of an issue for them there, but that was close.
Yeah, certainly was. They'll manage to keep the race lead despite that little scare there, having to pass the Supra in one of the most difficult corners on the circuit to go side by side. It's basically a single file corner there coming up to through turn 12, I believe it is. So peel our eyes away from the GT3 battle for a while to check out GTM once again. The number 10 of Simon Chan and Li Jia making the Fire Monkey Motorsport Porsche dance through this final sector of the circuit. Overall 14th, but trying to chase down that PSC Motorsport Lamborghini. Once again, it's AM versus Pro-Am as things stand, but for position in the total GTM class, looking at potentially getting the 4th running position, and that looks like a poor run for the Lamborghini through turn 14, but the Porsche can't quite quite take advantage. Needs to make use of the slipstream coming down the back stretch in order to get close enough for a move. But the draft is broken by the Lamborghini. This is going to be an interesting fight.
And the other thing to note is here, it's also deceptive, I think, at some of these corners. Reese, by the looks of things, you can easily try and run it in deep and then cut back, but very easy to end up a little bit offline. And as a result, you're in the marbles and not able to get it pulled up and run yourself wide as a result. Whilst we've been looking elsewhere on the field, this has been a change of position in the GT4 category. Henk kicks through on Prakun on Prapa. So they have now switched positions for 20th place outright. And they were fighting for second in the GT4 AM category as well. So watch these two cars here for a second. So saying both of them are trying to go for the apex, but they're also still both tracking out wide pretty early on there and actually over the exit curve with the left-hand side tyres. So drivers not afraid to use all of the available road and then some, as we're already nearly 20 minutes into this one here, Reese. And the action starting, or still building a plenty here in these small battles for the time being, it would seem.
Yes, also saw a change for position for the number 36 up ahead. It looks like Peter Hackett and Hayden Heikal have found their way past here, as I'm not too sure if that's the timing screen updating, but we do still have plenty of battles going on all around this circuit. That change for position a bit earlier on, as well, they're not too far away from getting lapped by the GT3s here. Things have spaced out a little more, as they've already made their way past the Team NZ Aston Martin, with Graham John Dowsett, the Kiwi, at the wheel of the car at the moment. We should be able to get an onboard from that car at some points across the weekend. They very kindly allowed us to use their Facebook Live onboard for some shots during this event, but we'll try and bring you that at some point over the weekend, just to see what it's like wheeling a GT4 Aston Martin Vantage around the brilliant Sepang International Circuit. B-Quik Absolute Racing AM entry of Huang Rohan and Adisak Tangpuncha is trying its best at the moment to catch up to Stuvik and Deng, but yeah, it just seems like the number 37 has the edge for the moment. Akash Nandi is taking advantage of the pressure that the teammates are putting pressure on second place and starting to bring that gap out, but a little encounter with some GT4 traffic might change that in just a few moments.
Yeah, traffic will give and traffic might take away, so gonna have to hope that it's more giving than taking. It certainly will be what will be on the cards for all of these drivers here. As you can see in and amongst the GT4s now as they try and slip through, and Henk kicks in a moment through turn 12, possibly trying to get out of the way of a teammate and race leader there, Akash Nandi, but as a result will have given up presumably a spot to that 95 2W Zoomies came in, unless he built a margin and could sort that one out. Whilst we checked it out with the GT3 layers, back to the GTM fight between Nadavude and Kitapol, which is still second on the road in class. They have lost a huge amount of time to Kimik Karnasuta, the AAS Motorsport 992 Cup car of Kimik is looking absolutely rapid relative to these cars at this particular point in race trim. Which is interesting to see, because of course in qualifying it was a pretty healthy margin for Nadavude on one lap pace. So whether that means we are going to see a conversion here, well, basically showing qualifying pace is definitely not the be-all and end-all. Definitely appears to be that case, unless he's really pacing himself. And/or, with the rain that was here earlier, a greasy track still perhaps, just not favouring the Lexus. It really needs that track rubbered in to be quick.
Yeah, seems that way. I think the inclement weather that we had earlier on in the day has washed away some of that rubber build-up that we saw from the qualifying sessions. So, have a look at the oversteer there for the Audi. They're absolutely wheeling it out of turn 14. That goes to show you just how little grip evidently is out there at the moment. Is the Ferrari going to have a run at the final corner? We'll have to wait and see on that. We'll keep our eyes peeled on the recovery from the Singha Motorsport number 12. They're coming up on their sister car at the moment. with the number 89 currently occupying 5th in the GT3 Pro-Am class. And you never know, might be a little bit of team orders potentially going on here. Maybe allow them past just for the sake of championship points. But obviously, different teams have different philosophies surrounding that. So they might allow them to race each other. Certainly looks like they're doing that at the moment.
Yeah, and we do like to see, obviously, see it, teams allowing their drivers to focus on just, racing each other, regardless of being from the same stable. Of course, it does come with the tricky element of making sure, yes, you're allowed to race each other, but don't be too pushy. Now, interesting to actually note there as well, Reese, don't forget, before this race started, the track was still declared wet by the race officials. And so, therefore, that would require rain lights on. Do you see what I see there about a lack of rain light on the back of the number 12 Honda NSX there?
I do see that. I'm unsure if race control have decided to declare the track dry. It certainly looks dry from our perspective on the broadcast cameras, but you never know. That might be something that race control will look at. Well, I mean, the sun is beating down on the track at the moment, and the Malaysian heat loves to evaporate that water very quickly. Considering the pace that we're seeing from the cars at the moment, I think the track is potentially dry enough to declare it dry, but we'll have to wait for official word from race control on that.
Yeah, I think these two cars here, I didn't see a rain light from the shot that we had, any shots we've had earlier in this one. So, well, in that case, hopefully that's not multiple teams in breach, as that's all kinds of loose for the 25 machine. Kitapol is throwing that car into turns 13 and 14. They're trying to set something up in that Avude as they race past the pit complex here. Note that we are actually 10 seconds away from the compulsory pit window opening as the inside is open for Kitapol. Looks, but Nadavude will turn down since the gap isn't taken, and they will stay as they were. So they exit the final turn, and the compulsory pit window opens with 35 minutes remaining on the clock. Should we stay green, they have just 10 minutes to come into the pits and complete the compulsory service. And still, Kitapol, he's not afraid. I'm seeing more aggressive power down from that Ferrari here. So that really does tell me that they probably are planning a tyre change for that car. It is also the only car in the field. Let's just see if I can find any confirmation of it in the notices somewhere, or is it actually not here? Because at Bang Sen and also at Chang, that Ferrari was one car out of everyone else in the field. Needed to refuel the car to make it home during the race. As we look here at some of our GT4s having to make way for the Singapore Motorsport Team Thailand Hondas. PT Bronbakti now ahead of Vorovoods. That's been an exchange off screen there as well.
Yeah, so crucially, one position up in the recovery for Birombadki and Kusiri as well. But they're going to take that opportunity to come into the pits themselves. Pit window is open, having to negotiate the chicane on the way into the pit lane that we are running on the back straight leading up to the final corner for Thailand Super Series. Not using the Grand Prix pits, and wow, you see the gravel being thrown out from the wheel wells there. Still some signs of the off that car had earlier, and I think they'll be very glad to have some fresh rubber on that thing.
Yeah, you can see gravel out of the wheel well, gravel still on the tyres as they came out of here. So now we get to see the different pit windows and rules coming into effect here. So a reminder, minimum pit entry to pit exit time for all cars in GT3 and GTM, 80 seconds. For the number 12, to be precise, they then have to add 27 seconds in the transit time because it's an FIA bronze and FIA silver driver pairing, and then another 10 seconds on top of that because they finished second in race 4 of the championship at Bang Sen, for a total pit in to pit out time of 117 seconds, or 1 minute and 57 if you convert that one back there. As we see here on track, the number 25 of Kitapol is going to continue on and do another couple of laps here at this stage, which again, so the whole thing is, do you go in now early and get your supposedly faster driver in now, or do you try and find a chance, because the pit lane, as was noted in chat, is quite busy because either cars having to push back and forward to make sure they can get a clean run out of their pit boxes here.
Yeah, the 91 BMW getting ready to go there. I was wondering why they were pushing the number 12 backwards, but looks like the AAI car making its way out there along with the Mercedes, with the Viper Niza Racing car there. So we shall see who gets the best run through the lane here. It looks like both of the Singer Motorsport Team Thailand Hondas are back out onto the circuit now. Good to see. And the drama will hopefully be over for the number 12 from here, and they can have a quiet race to the end. I think with the circumstances they find themselves in, a quiet race is a good race, but they're already finding themselves under pressure from the second AAI BMW, which I believe has already taken their pit stop. And we're still waiting on some for the GT4s. The number 18 Porsche came in here, currently leading the GT4 Pro-Am class at the moment. Looks like pretty much every other competitor has made their way in that class. We're still waiting on our top 3 in GT3 to make their way through. Sandy Stuvik and Yi Deng in the win here by BQ Absolute Racing car in the pits at the moment. That's the only GT3 that's in the lane at the moment. So we'll rapidly be seeing the positions filter back through and get some consistent running back on the board as we're approaching half race time.
Yeah, that we are indeed. So let's have a quick look through here. So as you know that with the GT4 cars, you can see there for Kansas sitting up in 7th place outright, thanks to the fact that a whole bunch of GT3s have come to the pits. The GT4s is a bit of a mixed bunch. He's also got Sutapong in the number 19 Tour de Gazoo Racing Thailand. You've got Henk Kicks hasn't brought the B-Quik Absolute Racing number 26 Porsche Cayman into the pits yet, as well as Andrew is behind the wheel at the number 59 for 2W Zoomies. But apart from that, and actually I can say now include Cantor D amongst the list of those who have pitted in GT4, so we are just a handful of drivers left. Now, the big thing for drivers like this is that, of course, you do go a lap down here with the compulsory pit stop procedures and how long they take. So the thing is, it's beneficial to get the compulsory stop done because you can't get the compulsory stop done if a safety car was to come out in these final 4.5 minutes of the window. That window would then resume after the race had restarted. But then it means you truck a lap down under safety car. So there's a bit of stuff there you'd have to sort of figure out.
Yeah, indeed. So obviously for the best that they only allow those pit stops to be completed under green flag conditions. Well, GT4 number 26, Henrik Kicks and Erwin de Smet, they haven't made their way into the pit lane just yet. They're wanting to go as long as they possibly can, but we've only got 4 minutes now until the pit lane closes, and well, there we go. There's the chance that they take. So they probably could have afforded to stay out another lap or two, but there's always that possibility of a safety car, and they don't want to miss the opportunity. So let's see then how this pit stop ends up going for the number 26.
All right, got to come in on a bit of an angle. It seems to be able to clear. That's a 2W Zoomie's car. Actually, no, they're going to pull it forward a little bit here and start that one a little bit further down the lane. Or was the case of,
yeah, not ideal there.
Handful with that stop there to get that one sorted out for them. Not ideal in the slightest. As looking back out on track to some of the B-Quik Absolute Racing Audis in the GT3 category. So Marcus Winkelhock is now aboard the number 27, and it currently runs third of the cars who have pitted in this race so far. Sandy Stuvik has handed off to Yi Deng. And it's also Jesse Cron now in the behind the wheel, I should say, of the number 91 for Team AAI. So our European heavyweights, Finland and Germany, the Finn and the German, I should say, available, as Marcus is clearly not afraid to use all of the track and then some on the exit of turn 14. Now, cars that still need to pit from in front of them, you've got Akash Nandi and Eshan Pires have been leading the race up until now, still out there on track, and the number 90 of Yachi Zhang, apparently scored now, is in the pits along with Yin Yu Chen. So they will drop down the order, I think. We'll see here as timing updates as these guys come across the line. But counting down the minutes until that CPS window closes, I get the feeling for Akash Nani, this is probably going to be the lap he comes into the pits.
Yeah, I would imagine. Because if he stayed out another lap, then he'd be pitting outside of the window, and that is a big no-no indeed. So should expect the 62 to come in at the end of this lap, and you see them out there at the moment, a lap ahead of everyone else at the moment. That just goes to show how much a pit stop is going to cost you. As it looks like we received a bit of news on the number 77 car. That's the PSC Motorsport Lamborghini, apparently missing their stop time by a single second, but not too sure if that information is indeed official. We might get some confirmation very soon.
Yeah, we'll find out in a second. So timing and scoring says that their entry to exit time, 1 minute and 46 seconds, otherwise known as converting it to 106. According to our official document that we've been passed on to us from the officials, that's 77, 80-second minimum, plus 27 seconds for an FIA bronze and silver pairing, means it needs to have been from entry to exit a minimum of 107 seconds. So whilst it's not confirmed as being checked off as a second short in the pits, the timing, I haven't seen it yet lie to us about how long a car was in the pits for versus the documentation we're provided. So once that pit window closes, it is quite likely that we unfortunately will see for Saravut and Afik, they'll have to come to the pits, stop in the pit box for all of 1 whole second, and then be released back out on track, which costs you a whole lot more than the 1 second you gain by sort of shorting that pit stop inadvertently. As your race leader, Reese, finally in the pits with 13 seconds remaining. It was about 20 when they finally stopped in the box. So leaving it to the absolute end to get Eshan Puris behind the wheel of your race leading car up until now.
Indeed, and with that, the pit window is now closed with 25 minutes to go in the race. We saw that Akash Nandi gave Eshan Puris a little pat on the back, say, look, I've brought this car in the lead. Make sure that you bring her home safe and sound, Eshan. And we shall see if they manage to hold on to that. Meanwhile, looks like a little bit of a fight starting to ensue here. It looks like our GTM Porsche there is keeping the 25A car very honest indeed, as they resume second place in GT3 at the moment. Still waiting to see if Eshan Puris is coming back out in a few moments' time. We'll keep an eye on their success comp time, if they do indeed have any. So it's going to be 141 seconds that they'll have to work their way through there, and that means I think 2 minutes and 21 seconds that they'll have to be stopped there. And it's looking like they'll still come out with a fairly solid lead from here. Actually, no, they won't.
No, because as we were talking, we were watching the 25A entry of Huang Rohan and Adasak. They were just coming around turns 12 and 13. They did have a substantially shorter stop. In fact, just checking out there, it says they were in the pits for only 1 minute and 21 seconds. 20. Yep, that is. Yep, and that's because they are an FIA all bronze pairing, and they had no success compensation time from Bung Sen race 4 of the season. So they have hit that one perfectly, and as a result, they gained back a huge amount of time, and as a result, they might be in the AM subdivision of GT3, but they are now your race leaders in this one, and they've got a 25-second advantage over the other car in GT3 AM, the number 90 team AAI over Yinyu Chen. So it's going to be interesting to watch here, because this will mean that they're in actually a good spot, because 22 and a half minutes to go here, Reese. Like, that's a healthy margin that you get to have. And so it's going to take some interference from a safety car period to probably put them under threat as confirmation from race control that pit stop times are under investigation. This message only comes through with confirmation that basically drivers have and teams have missed the mark. And we pointed out the 77 Reese in the background. Also been advised to have a look at the number 19 machine in GT4 of Sutapong, Smitarch, and Grant Superfong, the number 19 Toyota Gazoo in Thailand. Looks to have been a little short, and indeed 2 minutes 16 was the pit stop time for them that was required, and that converts to 136 seconds in the pits. Unfortunately for them, they needed to be in the pits for at least 140 seconds.
Yeah, well, dramas from certain teams not satisfying the minimum pit time regulations, with still 21.5 minutes remaining on the clock. Car 62's pit stop is under investigation. I've just seen pop up on the live timing as well. This is the thing. I was looking at them come into the pits, and I was wondering, they opened the door pretty early while the car was still going up on the jacks. So I'm wondering, was that a violation right there, or is there some other reason that the pit stop is under investigation?
Yeah, that's going to be one to watch out for. That would make, because I would think it's because the pit stop time is perfect, exactly what they needed to hit for pit entry to pit exit of 2 minutes 21 seconds or 141 seconds. So, I'd have to go digging through the regulations to try and figure out where that penalty can be. I think you might be onto something there, though, that if it's a pit service began before that car was up on the tracks. So, yeah, that'll be important to keep our eyes on if we can get any confirmation to pass on. As in the background, whilst all that talking, we said pit stop times were the first thing to be looking for in this race, and confirmation has come through from race control. The first car that is fallen afoul of their minimum entry to exit time race, the 77 GTM Lamborghini Super Trofeo from PSC Motorsport, has been issued a 1 second stop and go penalty for a short pit stop, and it has just been followed up by the other car that we did notice had fallen short of their time for the Toyota Gazoo Racing Thailand number 19 in GT4. Will have to serve a 4 second stop and go for being short there as well.
Yep, two cars getting pinged there by race control as they're still investigating the pit stop for the number 62. They'll have to go back through that footage and review to see if the pit stop service did indeed start too early. But yeah, I didn't mention it at the time, but it did jump out to me seeing that car come into the lane. As the driver's side door opened, the left side jacks were still going up, which is obviously a big safety issue. So, they obviously want to complete the pit stop in as short a time as possible, but you have to observe those safety protocols because it can be very easy for something to go wrong when a car is in the pits.
And also consider the fact, of course, that car's got one of the longest entry to exit transit times in the class when you think about it, because they have the FIA all silver pairing plus winning race 4 of the championship back at Bangsen. They had the longest stopping classes. If we can get a replay lined up of that, that'd be awesome. Just to review that one again for ourselves, as we'll stick with the live footage though for now. Confirmation at the start, as replay about to come in just a second here, Reese, and we'll get a chance to see what you recall there with the pit stop.
Okay, so the door opens and he gets out of the car as the jacks are still going up. Oh no. Yeah, you can't do that. Honestly, as we're back live now, you mentioned that they had the longest mandatory pit stop time. They could have afforded to be a bit more relaxed about it.
Because you saw that car sitting for a good 20, 30, probably even 40 seconds. That's how long they were required to wait there. As you focus here on the 77 machine, which has been issued its penalty. Saw it also issued physically at the circuit for one of the either the start finish line officially around here on the front stretch or over on that alternate southern pit lane. So just waiting to see, I guess, is there the official start-finish line. So that's very much clear. So unfortunately for those guys there with Afik Yazid currently behind the wheel, going to have to get that car back in the pits, and we'll have to say goodbye to leading the GTM class at this time. It will hand it back to Nada Vude, who has, thanks to a shorter stop for him, which did clear his requirements, so we'll check that one there. For Nada Vude, only 1 minute 38 seconds required through the pits. They were a little conservative for the number 24 Toyota Gazoo Racing Thailand entry at 1 minute 43. So, comfortably, well, not comfortably, but in the lead. In fact, they got GT4 cars, not even in the same category, and that's the Racing Award. And then a GT3 waiting for the next GTM. It's there in the form of Kitapol, or I should say Super Kits, behind the wheel of the Singapore Motorsport Team Thailand Ferrari. So once you subtract the Lamborghini, that's your 1-2 in GTM for now.
Okay, and we've just gotten a bit more news, confirmation from Race Control. The investigation is not necessarily for the driver getting out while the jacks were still going up. It's for car controller not appropriately attired. I think maybe not having the relevant safety clothing on for a member of the pit crew.
I'd almost want to see the replay again, see if we can spot what might be missing.
Yeah.
But maybe we might leave that for now, perhaps, because the update has come through. Representative for number 62 is to report to the stewards after the race for that to be discussed, and either a please explain and/or a slap on the wrist for a procedural breach. As such, as they've come back out on track, though, still ahead of Candice Akasiri, who's now behind the wheel of the Singapore Motorsport Team Thailand. Honda NSX is there. We go for the PSC Motorsport car into the pits and cleared. Yep, in, out, and away. Hopefully can recover something from that one. We'll probably be looking at now fighting over third. I have to see where they come back out once the timing updates as they're across the line. So battle on track here for 6th place outright and in GT3. Also got Carlo Van Dam in the second of the Honda NSX is not too far behind, so we have to watch out for that. Gap is coming down at the front though, Reese. Jesse Cron has inherited 2nd place, taking it away from Yin Yu Chen, and the gap is down to 19 seconds. Pulled, oh my, get this, he pulled 3.4 seconds on the last lap.
Yeah, that's a massive gap for Jesse Cron to make up as this fight's continuing on between the 62 and the 12. And if my memory serves me correctly, if not, please correct me. The number 12 being the championship leading car coming into this round. And yeah, okay, cool. I am correct. Excellent. This is going to be an interesting fight here. Trying his best here is Eshan Pierres to try and keep the Honda NSX behind them, but it's coming back at them in the mid-corner. They had to get it back on the brakes again, I think. Just a bit of a compromised run for the number 62 Audi. They were looking so good in the early stages of the race, but the obvious mandated long stop combined with those race control dramas, thanks to their pit stop, probably throwing them off their rhythm a little bit here. But yeah, you're right. That was an incredible lap by Jesse Cron there to catch up to the overall leader. Worth pointing out, though, that our top 2 in GT3 at the moment are an AM and a Pro-Am car, so technically not in the same class. Yeah,
so they will get scored slightly separately for that one. They actually need to double check driver standings. So you have the overall standings, and then you have the Pro-Am and AM. Oh, pardon me, sorry. Overall is for everyone, and then they separate out the AMs on top of that one. There is Yidengo will muscle his way past Yin Yu Chen there. So the win here by BQAR Audi is going to get through to 3rd place in the Pro-Am. 4th place outright is what matters for him, because that's the points the car will score for this one today. 12.5 minutes coming up on the clock. Can he perhaps go catch Marcus Winkelhock? Pace is not too far off. We'll see what the lap times say when they get around to the start-finish line. For your top two, 2-minute 10.9 for Adisak in the race leading 25A versus a 2:08.7 for Jesse Cron. So that gap comes down by another 2 seconds. It's going to be close. Speaking of close...
Up the inside of the final corner goes the number 12, and they're almost banging wheels on the exit there. That's going to bring the sister Singhar Motorsport Team Thailand NSX right into the fold here, running side by side. I mean, from our sim racing commentary, Dan, we know if you're running side by side into a corner, then that's just going to give the third chasing car a lot of momentum and a lot of advantage. It looks like the Audi's going to keep the position for the time being. I think the number 12 is getting slowed up a fair amount here.
Yeah, where can Candisac find the run, though, is the question. It appears not too bad in the back half of the circuit, but for straight line power, perhaps, as well as through the really tight stuff there, turns 1 and 2, Audi has the edge, maybe, and he can park it up nicely, Kanesh and Pires, because they're nowhere compared to the top 5. Unfortunately, at this stage, it would seem. So this is very much their race between the three of them here. And that will be it, as we'll check in with them later. Got here on screen now. This is the Wing Hin Motorsports Toyota Supra, and fighting with the AAS Motorsport Porsche Cayman and Kantiti Kasiri now back in third place in class after a dominant opening stint in this machine. And that all comes down to the way he had an ultra-long pit stop requirement. So for GT4 cars, they had a longer minimum time of 140 seconds. Add on that the fact that Kantiti Kasiri is rated FIA Silver. That's 46 seconds additional. Plus the fact he's in that car alone, they add another 8 seconds on because there isn't a driver swap and having to, I guess, adjust for the driver in the car. His total time from entry to exit, 194 seconds, which works out to 3 minutes and 14, which is a huge amount of time you have to be in the pits for. And as a result, 7 seconds off the race. We'll see here what the update is when they come across the line, which they've got GTM and GT3 cars cycling through as well. The gap is now sitting at 6.7 seconds, although we've lost... Where's the Wing Hin Motorsports car? My timing actually is starting to see it drop down the order. Well, we see it here on screen driving just fine. So maybe a transponder issue, perhaps?
Yeah, I think it might be a transponder issue because we can obviously see that the car is still racing solidly for second place in GT4 there, as Marcus Winkelhock made his way through in the number 27 Audi. As we wait for those issues to potentially be resolved with what we presume is the Supra's transponder. I want to point out that Winkelhock has been driving steadily as well. He still remains at about 25 seconds to the leader, but we also keep an eye on that second place battle with Jesse Crone now bringing the gap down to 14 seconds with 9 minutes to go. Wondering if he'll be able to pull out any more good laps to try and close that gap more, but we're rapidly reaching the end of this race, which also means this number 12 Honda NSX has a lot to play for here, trying to grab that place there from the number 62, fourth place in the GT3 class, up for grabs amongst 3 cars, with Singhar Motorsport bringing up a 2-pronged attack on B-Quik Absolute Racing. I'm loving this.
All right. So the race leader lapping in a 2-minute, coming up. The lap is about to finish. 11th and 12th. So critically, what are we talking about here? 8 minutes remaining on the clock and change. So we're looking at probably 5 laps, maybe 4, depending on exactly where the clock strikes 0 when they go around. So and depending on the delta, and I'm seeing here for now 2-minute 9.1 versus 2:12.9. That's nearly 4 seconds. If that difference carries on like this, Jesse Cron gets a chance on the last lap to go for it and get the win away from the number 25A. But if they fall 1 lap short, or that was a really bad... It does look like that was a pretty poor lap from Adisak in terms of pace. Maybe traffic to deal with there made things a bit difficult. It looks like there's a fair bit of traffic on that lap to boot. That may have explained the situation there. As to turn 1 with Eshan Pires and Candice Akasiri again.
look at that!
It's crossover, but not quite done.
Yeah, the Audi seems to be double apexing turn one. That's something I've noticed over the last couple of laps. They're going in a little deeper into the corner and running wide in the middle of it, but they come back to drivers right for the entry into turn two, and that's helping them to stay ahead of the number 12 for the time being. But keep your eyes peeled here on Kantasak and see if he can get the move done. We'll have another look at this. Kantasak almost had that run through the middle of the corner, but he had to slow down right at the last possible moment. He just sensed that there wasn't enough space and the Audi was coming across him to line it up for turn two. So I think wise move to back out of it, but I think the frustration is going to be mounting as we have only 6.5 minutes left for this move to be completed.
Yeah, these guys have been back and forth, it seems. And over the course of a lap, although that Audi now looking very twitchy under brakes, I have to say. Eshan Pires is wringing the neck off the 62, it seems, to get it pulled up, get it pointed out the corner. Whereas for Kansas City, he might not have the absolute pace everywhere on the lap. It just looks calm and composed despite being up. Because don't forget also, there will be a bit of air and wash and dirty and extra heat coming off the back of the Audi, which might be hurting the front end of that Honda NSX. But even there through turn 14, comes in a little tighter, almost a little neater. It does mean, though, loses a bit of margin through the initial part of corner exit, but GT4 traffic ahead to worry about as well. That there is the fight for second place in class. It would appear still, for the Wing Hin Motorsports car. Trouble, although the transponder has updated, it's now put them apparently a lap behind everyone else. So that might be something to watch out for. So here we go. So we've got fight for second in GT4 if that gets corrected later on, and the fight for part of this in GT3.
Did you see that from the number 18? Kantadi Kusiri was snatching a bit of slipstream off the number 12 there to try and get a better run on the Wing Hin Supra. I love that. I love seeing that. There's always an extra opportunity for you to gain a little extra time on the car in front of you, and if it means using a faster class to get yourself a bit of extra momentum, you'll certainly take it. But it hasn't worked out for the Porsche Cayman so far. Defensive once again for Eshan, and there might be a potential over-under here for Kantasak. Not too sure. In any case, that number 12 is all over the back of this Audi right now, and this battle is going to go right to the end if that defense keeps going.
Yeah, also update on the race leading situation. Last lap around for Adasak at 2:12.2. I think his pace has sort of gone to that level, which is not good because Jesse Cron's still doing 2:08.9s, over 3-second difference. And with the fact we're coming up to 4 minutes remaining and we'll be approaching the last couple of corners shortly, I think Jesse Cron's going to get that one lap he'll need to mount an attack on the race lead, even though the gap still sits at 7.2 seconds. When that goes to +1 lap, that's when Adasak crosses the start-finish line, and we'll wait to see what it updates to on our timing here very shortly.
Yeah, this is a very intense fight, not just for the position we're seeing on screen, but for the lead as well. The mammoth run from Jesse Krohn as they sneak up the inside of the GTM Porsche. A little bit of compromise on the exit there from the GT4 Mercedes there. This might be the run that the number 12 is looking for. It's defensive now for the number 62. And the 12 will sweep across to take the racing line into the final turn. It's deep for the 62, and it looks like the championship leaders are back in front, and there's a little bit of instability for the Audi on the exit, which means the move is done.
Oh, man, and I was just exclaiming for it. We had that on screen, and get this, the margin's gone from 7.2 seconds to 3.6. Jesse Cron's pulled, that's four,
yeah,
that's three and a half seconds. It's 3.5 seconds. Adasak's dropped to a 2-minute 13.0 on the last lap.
Yeah.
That's become an absolute precision from Candice Akasiri there. Sells a beautiful bait and switch and puts Eshan Pires on the dirty line to the inside, which runs him in so deep, he's well off into the marbles on the outside. He's able to gather up and hang on to 7th place in the class, but now Carlo Van Dam has his teammate 2 cars ahead. And maybe that will be useful to him now as they still scrap over this 6th on-back battle. And despite the fighting, they're still a little bit quicker than Yin Yu Chen, but the gap is 6 seconds up the road. That would need to be a massive uptick in pace, given that we should be coming to, well, these guys here are on their lap 20, done 25 laps, on lap 26. And looking at where the leaders are at and where the clock is at, we should be coming up to 2 laps to go next time by the line.
Indeed, and Jesse Krohn is continuing to make up some massive bulk time, at least 0.8 of a second in every sector of the circuit so far on that lap, and the gap is going to fall ever further. It's at 0.2 of a second now. I'm surprised that we're not seeing it on screen at the moment, because the lead is about to change here. Some big dust-ups there on the exit of the corner. Still got the GTM battle going on between Lexus and Ferrari. And it looks like the 91 is finally through there on the 25A. So Jesse Krohn with that massive pace advantage, getting the lead for Team AAI.
That they have indeed. And fascinating to actually see it. Haven't noticed it for a while yet, as there's the 25A machine, but they are now in second place. But looking at the GTM cars, we just saw there the 24 Van der Vude fighting with a super kit in the Ferrari, but they're actually still behind Afik Yazid in the PSC Motorsport car. But that's 3 cars that are nose to tail and could potentially fight for the top 3 in that category there, as your top 2 on the road now coming around. The timer should just about hit 0 once they get to the start-finish line, so it will be the final lap once that timer, well, we'll see the final lap boards at the start-finish line when the time hits 0 as a result. But for Jesse Krohn, pace has dropped a little bit as well compared to what he did early on in the session, but yeah, has been absolutely to hunt down there that 20-odd second margin. For a moment, I thought Adasak and Wang Rohan had enough in the bag, but yeah, you put in a driver of the caliber such as Jesse Krohn and able to make some magic today with the BMW M4 GT3 from the Team AAI squad.
Indeed, timer hits 0, and I believe it's going to be 1 extra lap. Oh no, it's just been declared. Yeah, it has just been declared final lap from race control. So, man, what a run it has been from the number 91 here. They will tour around one more time, and they are absolutely blasting their way forward. I think Krohner's backed off just a little bit here. Now that the move is done, he can just make sure that he brings the car home and get an excellent result for Team AAI. Definitely wasn't expecting them to be as far up as they are, but man, the talent that is at hand in this field is brilliant to see.
Yeah, indeed. Plenty of drivers here from Thailand that make the racing here possible, as well as the rest of the region. But then we had a chance to see drivers such as Jesse Krohn and Marcus Winkelhock, who are brought in to these teams. And the fact that they're here to race in this category does make for this excellent bit of sort of spice, because they end up, as a result, getting a success ballast applied to them as is attempted to make sort of things balance out. And it means that we get to see these great chase downs in the racing here. You know, which I think is actually pretty cool to see, whether they can make up for the deficit that's handed to them. And in this particular case, that appears to have been done the job there quite nicely. As watching now with half a lap to go for Jesse through turn 9, bringing that car out. I mean, yeah, they were fast at Chung for the season opener. Unfortunately, this car got damaged early on in the weekend at Bung Sen and didn't get to compete in the races as a result there. So it means for the championship wise, they're a little bit further back than they would like to be, with a DNF in race 3 and a DNS for race 4 as a result. And yeah, for Jesse Krohn, wasn't able to participate in that weekend. But coming into the weekend on 43 points, this will bump them up nicely to start challenging for third place, if not second potentially, in the class.
Indeed it will. Rounding the final corner is the number 91 of Chunhua Chen and Jesse Krohn, as Jesse brings it across the line to win here in Sepang for race 1 of the Thai Super Series by B-Quik. GT3 win going to BMW there, with Audi finishing in second, the 25A for B-Quik Absolute Racing, and they still get, on the podium do the Audi crew from the number 27, Marcus Winkelhock, with some fantastic drives there. Remember, they started from the rear of the GT3 field thanks to Linhao's off in qualifying, bringing out the red flag there. So a great recovery from the 27 crew.
Indeed, GTM podium has crossed the line as well, with Sarah Voot and the Fig, despite having to do a second pit stop for not getting the compulsory stop timing right. They still come out in front, according to what we're seeing on our transponders, to win that category there by 4 seconds from Kitapol and Super Kit for Singapore Motorsport Team Thailand, with Natavude having to settle for third. In the category 9th, 10th and 11th outright. And your GT4 race winner today is going to go to Peter Hackett and Hayden Heikel in the Racing Aurora Mercedes AMG GT4. So all three winners are across the line and have done the job here for race 5 of the championship, our first of this weekend here at Sepang. And get through an hour of green flag racing, always a good sign as well to note there, Reese. Didn't have to get the safety cars out to intervene. Always a good check in the box. And it means now the drivers can reset and get ready for tomorrow.
Absolutely. Can't wait for tomorrow's race. It's going to be a very fun time indeed. GTM is going to go to B-Quik Absolute Racing. Looks like, that might be something going on there with the overlays there. They are GT3 AM there. They do win the GT3 AM subclass there. Second overall, still a great drive from the 25A. And I just want to point out as well, we saw the best lap time there for Jesse Krohn in the 91. Turns out that 2:07.5 was the fastest lap of the entire race as well. So Jesse Krohn was absolutely on it today.
Yep, doing some excellent work there in race trim to get that car, as I said, from third place up to first after the pit stop. So drivers will bring it on in and hopefully get through some of the post-race celebrations, and they can do what they need to do debrief and prepare for the racing tomorrow, because they get to do this all over again, at least the racing part. Qualifying, as I said, thanks to that being done earlier this morning, they won't need to go out and try and set a one-lap flyer, but we'll reverse the order of the drivers in terms of who starts and who finishes, and we'll have to see, does that change where cars are going to end up at the end of 1 hour and 1 lap? We'll have to wait and see, unfortunately, before we get to that.
Yeah, indeed we will. Well, the celebrations begin as the B-Quik Absolute Racing teammates congratulate each other. Adisak commiserating with his teammates there. This has certainly been a big race indeed for B-Quik Absolute Racing, getting 2 cars on the podium in the form of the 25A and the 27. The 62, meanwhile, the crew will get a slap on the wrist from race control for the pit stop attire issue that was under investigation over the course of the race, and they'll ultimately finish a bit further down, 6th place in GT3 Pro-Am and 8th place overall. So despite starting on pole position for the race, the result just didn't come for them.
I can see there that the number, the 39 Wing King Motorsports Toyota Supra has been restored transponder and timing wise to 2nd place in the GT4 class. So good to see that all got fixed up for Amir Harris, Jeffrey and Mohammed Naki in that car, because for a moment there, a little worried that might have had an issue that needed to be restored with timing and scoring, which would have made things a bit messy at the end, but all fixed up there. So it's 3 different teams on the podium there in GT4 with Racing Aurora, Wing Here Motorsports, and AAS Motorsport there as well. And 3 different cars as well. Good to see that the balance of performance has worked out pretty well there, in addition to the compensation pit stop times when it comes to the manufacturer diversity in GT4.
Yeah, indeed. Mercedes, Toyota, and Porsche all together there. Lovely stuff from all of those crews. Put on a fantastic race here on Saturday at Sepang. These are your official results from GT3, or I'd say unofficial for the time being until they're certified by race control. 8.7 seconds in the end was the gap that Chunhua Chen and Jesse Krohn were able to get over Rohan and Adasak. Marcus Winkelhock helping Lin Hao to get the 27 onto the podium. And Team AAI also getting 2 cars, bookending the top 5 in the midst of all that. The number 12, crucially, recovering from their off earlier to finish in P6. A fantastic comeback from them. And aside from that, we can go through the GTM results as well.
Yep, 4 seconds the margin at the end of the race for Saravut and Afik in front of Kitapol and Super Kit there. The PSC Motorsport Lamborghini ahead of the Singer Motorsport Team Thailand. Ferrari with Nanavude another 3 seconds back in the Toyota Gazoo Racing Thailand. Lexus there as well for Kimik Kana Suta. Car that we saw strong early on, unfortunately has to go to 4th place in that class, and then we quickly jump over to the GT4 categories there. You can see 2nd and 3rd place was pretty close together there between Amir Harris Jeffrey and Nakib Noor Aslan and Kantadi Kasiri. Once again, pit stop hurting the 18 machine there a bit. Gaps though towards the back of the field, a little more spread out here in GT4, with though all 9 starters finishing there at the least.
Yeah, indeed. Good to see that we had a great lack of attrition here at Sepang International Circuit. So I guess that's going to close things off for us here in the Super Series broadcast as we check out the action that ensued over the course of this race. Now the action at the circuit is going to move on to the Asia Classic Car Challenge and Caterham, the qualifying for them. But man, what a race it was for the number 12. Remember, they started a bit further down and managed to hold on to P3 for a while as the number 24 and 38 Lexuses had a lot of things to go for in GTM. I'm wondering if we're going to catch potentially the off for the number 12 in this highlights package here.
Maybe, unfortunately for the number 38 Lexus, I do believe it actually never made it back out onto the circuit. So with the fire extinguisher and that car going off, it might have been a very terminal situation there indeed. So this might have been after the pit stop set, would have been after, I think, for Yi Deng getting past Yu Chen there. And so part of the game here with our faster drivers or designated drivers, for number 2 coming through the field versus other drivers out on track. And then, of course, the game that was here for Jesse Cron to hunt down and take the race win. He would do so with a lap to go and enough of a healthy margin there to come out in front ahead of the B-Quik Absolute Racing Audis there in 2nd and 3rd. So job well done for Team AAI in the process there. As we said, little surprise packet in the form of the GTM win going to the PSC Motorsport Lamborghini, despite having to do the stop and go penalty for not completing its compulsory pit stop in time, or not enough time, I should say. So impressive to be able to still recover from that mistake there. And yeah, as I said, Racing Aurora, Mercedes AMG GT4 getting the win in GT4. But as you said, indeed, Reese, that will conclude today's coverage from the Super Series by B-Quik, as the TSS Supercar categories are done for today. But we return tomorrow for race number 6 of the championship to conclude their racing coverage and action here at the Sepang International Circuit as part of this Malaysia Championship Series weekend. You'll be able to catch all of that, I should say, from 11:45 a.m. Malaysia time on Sunday. And we'll be getting live just before that race gets underway. So with that all said and done, my name is Zeno Yeaman. It's been Reese Gardner alongside me today on behalf of speedcafe.com for this English language broadcast, with thanks to Speed Cafe as our local partner for making this broadcast possible. To everyone watching along with us via the Thailand Super Series broadcast channels or the Speed Cafe broadcast channels, thank you all very much. I hope you've enjoyed the action, and we'll look forward to seeing you back tomorrow for race 6 of the Super Series by B-Quik in 2024.